Hey, Tree Sprites. Living in this world, it's very common for people to be overwhelmed with a sense of hopelessness. And that is because we have lost sight of and take for granted the power of our own minds. We are trained to believe that the reality that we exist in is first and only physical, when in actuality, the reality that we experience is first imaginary and non physical. In fact, much of actual reality is energetic. We often associate the imagination with childhood fantasy and unproductivity. People are often told that they are wasting their time daydreaming. However, the imagination and the imaginary is anything that you think of, anything that you envision to create. All inventions and systems and methodologies first existed in the imagination before being manifested or implemented into the physical. And this is why the power structures that we wrestle with today are not actually real. For example, the white supremacist power structure does not exist on its own. It is unsustainable and has zero biological backing. It is an imaginary concept that is anchored on anti-blackness. It needs anti-blackness and continual violence in order to exist. Through non-stop propaganda and aggression, it must convince Black people, especially Black women, that there is something wrong with us. But that something is only ever leveraged against the concept of whiteness, because Black people are a direct product of Gaia. We are God's creation. Who convinced you that there was something wrong with your natural hair? It certainly wasn't nature. Not when your natural coily hair spirals out of your head like DNA toward the heavens, connecting you to the cosmos. Our hair is much more than identity. The hair that grows all over your body is an extension of your nervous system. Has the hair on your arms ever stood up because you were nervous or fearful? Your hair directly responds to chemical signals inside and outside of your body. You'll notice that in the implementation of white supremacy, they would routinely attack the hair of Black people and Indigenous Americans. Black women have had legislation passed against our hair, our natural phenotype. The reason why we are under constant attack, why we constantly are facing violence and disparagement in society, is to distract us and to keep a hold of our minds. Because the violence that we experience is first and foremost psychological. White supremacy is a spell. It has to be forced because it's not real. It's unnatural. Therefore, we have to come to a point of acceptance that we are choosing to abide by the ideologies of white supremacy, as well as every other unnatural power structure and system. First of all, they are all inherently anti-nature and anti-earth, and also anti-human. And by choosing, whether through fear or through the desire for external validation from the wider society, we are aligning ourselves against Gaia and against humanity. It is absolutely difficult to reject philosophies and concepts and ideologies that are deeply ingrained in you because they are everywhere in society and they are what you have been raised with. But nobody ever said that decolonizing and recreating was anything easy. It took centuries for us to get to this place that we're in right now. And it will take tremendous effort and energy for us to get out of it. An example of just how powerful your mind and imagination and powers of creativity are, I'm sure many of you have heard the concept of the placebo effect. It is when your mind believes a thing that is not necessarily reflected in the physical reality. For example, there have been trials where there have been maybe two groups of people, and one group was prescribed an actual vitamin or medication of some sort, and another group is prescribed something like sugar water or just something that does not actually have the effect that they're told that it has. However, they believe that it does. And because they believe that it does, their entire body, their cellular composition communicates within itself that that is the reality. The reality is what the system believes and not what is allegedly being presented outside physically, with the results being that both groups experienced the same benefits, even though one was given the actual medication or vitamin or what have you, and the other group was given the placebo. Your imagination does not reflect reality. Reality reflects your imagination. What you decide is real. If you decide that you are incapable of success because society told you that Black people are not successful, then that is something that, whether or not you realize it, you have chosen to believe. You have chosen to implement a belief into your reality. And you are simply supporting someone else's fantasy, a fantasy that is harmful to you. And like I said, that fantasy has to be backed with propaganda and violence in order for it to have any sort of standing, to force you to believe it out of fear, which is why we need to learn to control our emotions. Because losing your emotions to fear is losing your grip on reality and is a slippery slope toward assimilation, the complete and total loss of your mind, sense of self, and sense of identity. It may seem overly simple, however, the highest of our emotions, love and gratitude, are the ones that can break spells and return us to our truest authentic selves. There is no coincidence that in works of fiction, we repeatedly see themes of true love's kiss breaking spells and causing the return to authenticity or originality. Black love is Black freedom is Black wealth. Subscribe to Black Barn Owl. Link in the bio. I'll see you in always.